The massive alien ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Its sleek, silver hull gleamed in the distant sunlight as it moved past Neptune's orbit. Inside, senior observer Zixtal stood at the command center, their four eyes blinking in sequence as they studied the holographic display of Earth. "Another routine classification mission," Zixtal said to their crew. "We'll be done with this in 2 solar cycles." Their tentacles waved dismissively at the blue-green planet on the screen. The Federation assessment team had done this thousands of times before. They would scan the planet, run their tests, and assign a danger level to the species. Most civilizations barely reached level 5. The truly aggressive ones might hit level 10. Anything above that was extremely rare. As their ship approached Mars, the first unusual readings began coming in. The science officer's antennae twitched nervously as she read the data. "Senior observer, these can't be right," she chirped. "The biodiversity readings are off the charts, and the technological advancement pattern doesn't match any known development model." Zixtal floated over to examine the readings themselves. Their outer membrane rippled with concern. The planet shouldn't have this mix of technology. These humans had nuclear power and spaceflight, but they still burned fossil fuels. They had global communications networks, but parts of their world still used primitive farming methods. It made no sense. The ship's sensors detected thousands of artificial satellites, several space stations, and numerous vessels moving between them. As they prepared to enter Earth orbit, a transmission came through. "Federation Assessment Vessel. This is Agent Samantha Kent of the Terran Space Command. Welcome to Earth. We've prepared landing coordinates for your convenience." The calm, professional tone caught Zixtal off guard. Most species were either terrified or hostile during their first official contact. This human sounded like she was greeting an expected dinner guest. When they landed at the designated facility in a place called Nevada, Zixtal was surprised again. A small welcoming committee waited on the landing pad, seemingly unbothered by the desert heat that their sensors said was 38 degrees Celsius. Agent Kent stood at the front, her blonde hair tied back neatly, wearing a blue uniform with silver trim. "Senior Observer Zixtal, welcome to Earth," she said with a slight bow. "We've prepared your testing facilities according to Federation specifications. Zixtal's translation implant must be malfunctioning. You know our protocols." "Of course," Kent smiled. "We've been monitoring Federation communications for the past 50 years. We wanted to be prepared when you arrived." The assessment team exchanged worried looks. Their communications were supposed to be undetectable. Humans shouldn't have been able to intercept them. As they followed Kent into the facility, Zixtal noticed something that made their primary heart skip a beat. In a corner of the landing pad, a human was holding a leash attached to a 4-legged creature with sharp teeth, what their database identified as a dog. The human was smiling and petting it. "Agent Kent," Zixtal said carefully, "that human is controlling a predator species." "Oh, that's just Jerry from security with his German Shepherd Max," Kent replied casually. "Most humans keep pets. Dogs are the most popular." Zixtal made a note in their datapad. Any species that domesticated predators for companionship needed careful evaluation. Inside the facility, more surprises waited. The humans had already set up most of the standard testing equipment. Scientists in white coats moved around the labs with practiced efficiency. Through one door, Zixtal spotted a training room where humans were practicing low-gravity maneuvers. "We took the liberty of starting some preliminary tests," Kent explained. "We thought it might save time." A junior observer leaned close to Zixtal and whispered, "They're already adapting to space conditions, without any genetic modifications." Kent led them to a conference room where screens displayed Earth's various ecosystems, from deep oceans to mountain peaks, from frozen tundra to burning deserts. In each one, humans had not only survived but built thriving communities. "Shall we begin the official assessment?" Kent asked, pulling out a chair. Zixtal looked at their datapad, then at their team, then back at the confident human woman. This was supposed to be a routine mission, but already Earth was proving to be anything but routine. Yes, they said finally. Let's begin. They had a feeling this assessment would be one for the records. The Federation's testing facility hummed with activity as Elizabeth Mason walked between the rows of alien equipment. She watched with hidden amusement as the third scanner that morning sparked and shut down, its readings too high to process. The alien technicians waved their tentacles in frustration. Perhaps we should try adjusting the baseline parameters again, she suggested, keeping her voice neutral. The aliens didn't need to know she had already predicted this outcome. Senior observer Zixtal floated nearby, all four eyes fixed on the malfunctioning equipment. This has never happened before. The scanners are calibrated for the most dangerous known species in the galaxy. Elizabeth picked up one of the broken scanners and studied it. What exactly are you trying to measure? Adaptability potential, one of the alien technicians said. But your species keeps exceeding our scales. Humans show signs of being able to survive in almost any environment. Well, we did spread to every corner of our planet, Elizabeth said. She pulled up a holographic display showing human settlements. From the hottest deserts to the coldest poles. We even have people living in space now. The aliens watched as she cycled through images of human habitats, desert cities rising from the sand, underground towns in Australia, floating villages in Southeast Asia, research stations in Antarctica, the International Space Station orbiting high above. But how do you adapt so quickly? Zixtal asked. Most species take thousands of generations to adapt to new environments. Elizabeth smiled. We don't wait for evolution. We use our minds to solve problems. When it's cold, we build shelter and make warm clothes. When it's hot, we create cooling systems. We see an obstacle, and we find a way around it. She led them to another testing area where a group of humans were demonstrating various survival skills. A man was starting a fire without matches. A woman was purifying water using basic materials. Another person was building a shelter from natural materials. These are basic skills many humans learn for fun, Elizabeth explained. We call it camping or survival training. The alien scientists frantically took notes as they watched. Their devices kept trying to measure human potential and failing. One of them approached Elizabeth with a curious look. Our scans show that humans regularly consume substances that would be lethal to most species, the alien said. Is this true? Elizabeth walked them to the facility's break room. Inside, several scientists were having lunch. She pointed to their drinks. That's coffee. It contains caffeine, which is toxic to many species. And those, she pointed to some hot sauce bottles, contain capsaicin. We eat it because we enjoy the sensation. The aliens backed away from the break room in shock. Zixtal made more notes on their datapad. You intentionally consume toxins for pleasure. Those are just the mild examples, Elizabeth said. Would you like to hear about our spice tolerances, or perhaps how some humans eat hot peppers competitively? Before the aliens could respond, an alarm sounded from their testing equipment. They rushed to check the readings. Elizabeth followed, knowing exactly what they had found. This can't be correct, one alien scientist said. According to these readings, humans can survive and remain conscious at gravitational forces that should be lethal, and they deliberately expose themselves to such forces. Elizabeth pulled up footage from a fighter jet training program. Those are our test pilots. They train to handle extreme G-forces. We also have roller coasters, machines built specifically to let people experience high G-forces for fun. Zixtal's color changed to a pale blue. 4. Fun. Of course, Elizabeth said. Humans often seek out challenges and extreme experiences. It's part of who we are. She watched as the alien assessment team huddled together, discussing their findings in worried tones. Their equipment kept breaking, their scales kept maxing out, and their understanding of what was possible kept being challenged. Elizabeth knew they had barely scratched the surface. They hadn't even gotten to human pain tolerance, endurance capabilities, or the concept of human teenagers yet. She had a feeling this assessment was going to take much longer than the aliens had planned. Commander Peter Wright stood in front of the alien assessment team, clicking to the next slide in his presentation. The image showed Earth during World War I. The aliens' color changed to a sickly gray as they processed the information. "Let me understand this correctly," Senior Observer Zixtal said, their tentacles twitching nervously. "Your species fought not one, but 2 global wars within just 50 of your years." "That's correct," Peter replied. "The First World War from 1914 to 1918, and the Second World War from 1939 to 1945. The alien historians in the room began making urgent notes. One of them raised an appendage. "But our scans show that some of your strongest alliances are with nations that fought against each other in these wars. How is this possible?" Peter pulled up images of modern-day Japan, Germany, and the United States. After the wars ended, former enemies worked together to rebuild. "We learned that we could accomplish more through cooperation than conflict. You turned your most dangerous opponents into allies." Another alien asked, voluntarily. "Yes," Peter said. "Today, these nations are close friends and trading partners. We share technology, culture, and resources." The aliens discussed among themselves in their clicking language. Their translation devices seemed to be struggling with the concept. One of them turned back to Peter. "Our records show that humans have fought wars over territory, resources, beliefs, and even slight differences in appearance or customs," the alien said. "Yet you can overcome such deep hatred and form lasting bonds." Peter nodded. "We learned from our mistakes. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, people from both sides helped break it down together. Former enemies hugged and celebrated as one." The assessment team's devices sparked again as they tried to measure this behavioral pattern. Zixtal made more notes on their datapad. "What about weapons?" another alien asked. "Our scans show that humans developed nuclear technology, but then created treaties to limit its use. No other species has willingly restricted their most powerful weapons." Peter brought up images of various peace treaties and international agreements. "We understood the devastating power of these weapons. Many nations decided it was better to limit them than risk destroying everything." The aliens seemed both impressed and disturbed. Their color kept shifting between shades of blue and gray. "But you still maintain these weapons?" Zixtal asked. "As a deterrent," Peter explained. "The knowledge that using such weapons would lead to mutual destruction helps prevent their use. We call it mutually assured destruction." The alien team huddled together again, speaking rapidly in their clicking language. When they turned back, one of them had another question. "Our analysis shows that humans often fight to protect others, even at great risk to themselves. You call this defending the weak. Why would you risk your lives for others who cannot offer equal protection in return?" Peter thought for a moment, then pulled up images of various rescue operations, humanitarian missions, and peacekeeping forces. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "Humans believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. We send aid to disaster areas, even to countries that aren't our allies. We have special forces dedicated to helping others in crisis." The alien's color shifted to a deep purple, which Peter had learned indicated deep confusion. "Your species is capable of both extreme violence and extreme compassion," Zixtal said. "You can be deadly enemies one decade and close allies the next. You restrict your most powerful weapons while developing new ones. You fight wars across your entire planet, then work together to prevent them." "That's human nature," Peter said. "We learn from our mistakes. We try to be better than we were before." As the alien team processed this information, their assessment devices sparked and shut down again. They had never encountered a species that could shift so dramatically between conflict and cooperation, between violence and peace. Peter watched them struggle with their equipment, knowing they still had much more to learn about humanity's complex history. The next section of his presentation would cover the space race, how the Cold War pushed humans to reach for the stars. He wondered how the aliens would handle that particular example of human competition, leading to incredible advancement. Dr. Amanda Garcia stood at the edge of Death Valley, watching the alien assessment team check their environmental suits for the third time. The temperature display showed 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and the aliens couldn't believe humans could survive in such heat. "You mean to tell us," Zixtel said through their environment suit speaker, "that humans regularly visit this place for recreation?" Amanda nodded, taking a sip from her water bottle. "People come here hiking, camping, and studying nature. Some even run marathons here." The alien suits registered their collective shock. One of them stepped forward, scanning devices whirring. "Explain these marathons you mention." "It's a running race of about 26 miles, Amanda explained. She pulled up a holographic display showing various marathon events. "Humans do these all over the world, in all kinds of conditions." The aliens watched footage of the marathon disables, where runners crossed the Sahara Desert. Their scanning devices sparked and shut down again. "But that's not the most extreme example," Amanda continued. She showed them images of mountain climbers on Mount Everest. "Humans also climb the highest mountains on Earth. The air is so thin up there that most species would die within minutes." Zixtel's color shifted to a deep purple. "What is the purpose of climbing such dangerous peaks?" "Because they're there," Amanda said, smiling at the aliens' confusion. "Humans like to challenge themselves, to push their limits." She led them to their next testing site, an indoor facility where various survival scenarios were demonstrated. The aliens watched in astonishment as humans showed how they could survive in different environments. A survival expert demonstrated how to find water in the desert. Another showed how to build shelters in Arctic conditions. A third explained how humans could survive for days without food or water if necessary. "Your endurance capabilities are extraordinary," one alien scientist noted. "Our scans show that humans can continue functioning even after severe physical stress." Amanda showed them footage of ultra-marathon runners, mountain climbers, and long-distance swimmers. Some humans swim across entire seas, run for days without stopping, or climb mountains without oxygen supplies. The aliens' translation devices struggled to process this information. Their color kept shifting between shades of disbelief. "But surely these are special specimens of your species?" Zixtel asked hopefully. "Enhanced or modified humans?" Amanda shook her head. "No, these are regular humans who trained themselves to do these things. Almost any human can develop these capabilities with enough practice." She pulled up more examples. Arctic explorers camping in -40-degree weather, deep sea divers reaching incredible depths, cyclists crossing entire continents. "Humans have something we call mind over matter," she explained. "We can push our bodies beyond their normal limits through willpower and determination." The alien scientists frantically tried to measure this concept of willpower, but their devices couldn't quantify it. They watched in amazement as Amanda showed them more examples of human endurance. "There are humans who run 100-mile races through mountains," she said. "People who climb frozen waterfalls for fun. Swimmers who dive hundreds of feet deep on a single breath of air." One of the aliens raised an appendage. "We noticed humans have settlements in all of Earth's environments, from frozen tundra to tropical jungles. How is this possible?" "We adapt," Amanda said simply. "If it's too cold, we make it warmer. If it's too hot, we make it cooler. If we can't breathe the air, we create air we can breathe. Humans find a way to survive and thrive almost anywhere." She watched as the alien team huddled together, discussing their findings. Their measuring devices lay broken around them, unable to properly classify human adaptability and endurance. "And remember," Amanda added with a smile, "we're now adapting to live in space too. Zero gravity, high radiation, extreme temperatures. We're learning to handle it all." The aliens' color turned an even deeper shade of purple. They had come expecting to find a simple species to classify. Instead, they found humans, a species that seemed to treat the impossible as just another challenge to overcome. Kevin Brown watched with amusement as the alien assessment team took their calming medications. They had just finished viewing a collection of human entertainment media, and it hadn't gone well. The alien's color had shifted through various shades of distress during the presentation. "Let me make sure I understand," Senior Observer Zixtel said, their voice shakier than usual. "These action movies are something humans watch for enjoyment." "That's right," Kevin replied, gesturing to the holographic display. "They're one of our most popular forms of entertainment. People love watching stories about heroes overcoming impossible odds." The alien team looked at their notes. One of them spoke up. "But the things we saw, humans jumping from high places, fighting despite severe injuries, surviving explosions, these are not real, correct?" Kevin smiled. "The movies exaggerate things, but they're often based on real human capabilities. Here, let me show you something else." He pulled up footage of various extreme sports: skydivers performing aerial acrobatics, base jumpers leaping off cliffs, motorcycle riders doing backflips, and snowboarders racing down steep mountains. "These are all real," Kevin explained. "Humans do these activities for fun." The aliens quickly took more of their calming medication. Zixtal's tentacles twisted in agitation. "For fun. They risked their lives for entertainment. We call it pushing the limits," Kevin said. "Many humans enjoy testing themselves against nature or doing things others think impossible." He switched the display to show various video games. The aliens watched as players navigated virtual characters through dangerous situations. "Now these must be purely fictional," one alien scientist said hopefully. "The games are virtual," Kevin agreed. "But we create them to simulate real challenges. Some games even help train our pilots, soldiers, and emergency responders." The assessment team huddled together, speaking rapidly in their clicking language. When they turned back, their color had shifted to a deep shade of confusion. "Our analysis shows that human children play games that simulate combat or dangerous situations," another alien noted. "Why would you teach your young to seek out danger?" Kevin thought for a moment. "It's not about seeking danger. It's about learning to face challenges. Even simple games like hide and seek teach children problem-solving skills." He showed them footage of children playing on a playground, climbing structures, and swinging high in the air. The aliens watched in horror as parents encouraged their children to climb higher and try new things. "You actually encourage your offspring to take risks?" Zixtal asked incredulously. "Calculated risks," Kevin corrected. "We believe it helps them learn their own capabilities and limits. It builds confidence." The aliens made more notes as Kevin continued his presentation. He showed them sports competitions, racing events, and reality shows about survival challenges. "Humans even create artificial challenges when natural ones aren't available," he explained. "We build obstacle courses, climbing walls, and racing tracks. We organize competitions to test speed, strength, and skill." One of the alien scientists raised an appendage. "Our scans show that humans produce large amounts of chemicals called endorphins during these activities. Are these some kind of combat drugs?" Kevin laughed. "No, they're natural chemicals our bodies produce when we're excited or challenged. They make us feel good, which is partly why we seek out these experiences." The aliens' color shifted again as they processed this information. Their devices tried to measure human entertainment preferences, but kept shorting out. "And what about these horror entertainments?" Zixtal asked. "You deliberately expose yourselves to frightening situations for pleasure." "Some humans enjoy feeling scared in a safe environment," Kevin explained. "It's like a controlled way to experience excitement and fear." He watched as the assessment team tried to make sense of human entertainment culture. They couldn't understand why a species would voluntarily seek out challenge, danger, and fear. "Just wait until I tell you about our competitive eating contests," Kevin said with a grin, reaching for the next set of files. The aliens quickly grabbed more of their calming medication. Fire Chief Lisa Morrison stood in front of a burning training building, watching the alien assessment team's reaction. The Federation observers had insisted on seeing human emergency response capabilities, but they clearly weren't prepared for what they were about to witness. "You mean to tell us," Senior Observer Zixtel said, their voice filled with disbelief, "that humans voluntarily enter burning structures?" "That's correct," Lisa replied, adjusting her fire helmet. "When there's someone trapped inside, we go in to save them." The aliens watched as Lisa's team demonstrated a rescue operation. Firefighters in full gear rushed into the smoke-filled building, emerging minutes later carrying training dummies to safety. "But the temperatures in there," one alien scientist protested, checking their instruments. "They're hot enough to kill most species." Lisa nodded. "That's why we wear protective gear and train extensively. Every second counts in a real fire." The alien team's color shifted to a pale green as they processed this information. Their devices tried to measure the temperature inside the firefighters' suits, but sparked and failed. "And these humans who do this, they are specially bred for heat resistance?" another alien asked hopefully. "No," Lisa said. "We're regular people who choose to do this job. Same goes for all emergency responders, police officers, paramedics, search and rescue teams. We're all volunteers." She showed them footage from real emergencies: firefighters battling forest fires, rescue workers digging through earthquake rubble, Coast Guard teams braving storms to save stranded boats. "The concept of voluntary emergency services is breaking our assessment protocols," Sixtal admitted. "No other species we've encountered deliberately puts themselves in danger to save others, especially not strangers." One of the alien scientists raised an appendage. "Our scans show that humans often risk their lives even for non-human creatures." "Is this true?" Lisa pulled up more footage on the holographic display. It showed rescue workers saving dogs from frozen lakes, firefighters rescuing cats from trees, and marine teams helping stranded whales. "We believe all life has value," she explained. "If we can help, we do." The aliens watched in stunned silence as Lisa's team performed more demonstrations. They practiced rappelling down buildings, cutting through vehicles to rescue trapped victims, and containing hazardous materials. "But how do you overcome the natural instinct to flee from danger?" one alien asked. "Training and determination," Lisa said. "When others are running out of a dangerous situation, we run in. That's our job." She showed them the department's training facility, where firefighters practiced in simulated smoke conditions and high-temperature environments. The aliens were especially confused by the volunteer firefighters. "These humans have other occupations, but they choose to fight fires as well?" Zixtal asked incredulously. "Many communities rely on volunteer firefighters," Lisa explained. "People with regular jobs who are ready to drop everything and respond when there's an emergency." The assessment team huddled together, their color shifting rapidly as they discussed. When they turned back, they seemed even more confused. "We've noticed that human emergency responders often continue working even when exhausted or injured," one alien noted. "What drives them to keep going?" Lisa thought for a moment. "We have a saying, where others fear to tread. When someone needs help, we don't stop to think about our own comfort or safety. We just act." Suddenly, a real emergency call came in. Without hesitation, Lisa's team jumped into action, sirens blaring as they raced to respond. The alien observers watched in amazement as the firefighters transformed from casual instructors to focused professionals in seconds. "This is what we do," Lisa called over her shoulder as she climbed into the fire truck. "Feel free to observe, but stay back for your safety." The assessment team's devices farked one final time and completely shut down. They had never encountered a species that not only faced danger willingly, but had organized entire systems around rushing toward it to help others. Their classification metrics simply couldn't handle it. The Federation assessment team sat in their final review chamber, surrounded by broken scanning devices and piles of data tablets. Senior observer Zixtal's color kept shifting between shades of confusion as they tried to make sense of everything they had learned about humans. Agent Samantha Kent stood quietly in the corner, hiding her smile as she watched the aliens struggle with their classification decision. The past week had been quite an experience for everyone involved. "This is impossible," one of the alien scientists declared, waving their tentacles in frustration. "Humans display traits of both Class 15 and Class 16 species. Our system isn't designed to handle this." Zixtal reviewed their notes again. "Let's go through the key points one more time." The team projected their findings into the air. Humans can survive in almost any environment on their planet. They actively seek out new challenges and deliberately train themselves to withstand extreme conditions. They turn their most dangerous enemies into allies and restrict their most powerful weapons while developing new ones. Another alien continued reading. "They domesticate predator species as companions. They consume substances that would be lethal to most species for pleasure. They create entertainment about facing danger and deliberately expose themselves to frightening situations for enjoyment. And most confusing of all," Zixtal added, "they have organized systems where they voluntarily risk their lives to save others, even members of different species. They run into burning buildings, dive into raging waters, and enter collapsed structures without hesitation." The room fell silent as the assessment team contemplated their decision. Their color kept shifting between various shades of uncertainty. "Perhaps we should focus on their potential threat level," one scientist suggested. "Their technology level alone puts them at Class 15. But their adaptability and unpredictability suggest Class 16, another countered. "No other species shows this combination of traits." Samantha cleared her throat softly. "May I offer a perspective?" The aliens turned to her, their colors showing surprise. They had almost forgotten she was there. "You're trying to fit humans into categories based on how dangerous we might be," she said. "But have you considered that our most dangerous trait might also be our most beneficial one?" The alien's colors shifted to show curiosity. Zixtal gestured for her to continue. "Everything you've noted about us, our adaptability, our willingness to face danger, our ability to turn enemies into friends, comes from the same source: our drive to improve and help others. Yes, we can be dangerous, but we choose to use our capabilities to protect and assist, not just to fight." The assessment team huddled together, discussing her words in their clicking language. When they separated, Zixtal approached Samantha. "We have reached a decision," they announced. "Earth will be officially classified as a Class 15 civilization." Samantha raised an eyebrow. "And unofficially?" Zixtal's color shifted to a shade she hadn't seen before. "We will add a footnote suggesting possible Class 16 traits. This has never been done before, but then again, we have never encountered a species like humans before." The alien scientist continued. "Your species combines traits we thought were incompatible. You can be both incredibly dangerous and remarkably compassionate. You seek out challenges yet work to prevent conflicts. You develop powerful weapons but create treaties to limit them. You are unique." Samantha nodded, maintaining her professional demeanor despite wanting to grin. "We appreciate your thorough assessment." As the alien team prepared to leave, Zixtal had one final question. "Agent Kent, did you know this would be the outcome when we arrived?" Samantha finally allowed herself a small smile. "Let's just say we had confidence in your ability to see humanity's true nature." The aliens departed Earth the next day, their ship carrying broken equipment, mountains of data, and a classification report unlike any other in Federation history. They had come expecting to find a simple species to categorize. Instead, they had discovered humans, a species that defied their classification system simply by being themselves. Back on Earth, Samantha sent a brief message to her superiors. "Mission accomplished. Humanity's first official Federation classification complete." They never knew what hit them.